Hey, it's Aliana with Brands Are Alive, and in today's video I wanted to talk to you about how to make decisions in alignment, especially when we're trying to work with a coach or an expert service provider, go through a training or a program of some sort. Sometimes it can happen that we want to make a decision that's in alignment both with the mind or logic, but also with our heart and how we feel in that moment and how much we desire something. And we have these intuitive hunches, but we question them and we're not sure, is this really my intuition? Is this my mind? Is this my biases? How do I know, basically? How do I know that a decision really is in alignment and not just, I'm not just feeling excited in this moment and, just following my feelings, my emotions? Because at the end of the day, being aligned doesn't mean just following your emotions, right? So that's the topic I want to talk to you about today and show you a little framework or process that I like to use to just double check. Normally it's generally easy for me to make a decision because I'm very clear about what I want in the business to be long term and what I value, what's important to me. But sometimes despite that, it's kind of like, I want it, but I don't want this thing within that timeline and I want it to happen faster, or I want it, but now is not the right time, but maybe I should do it. Maybe there will never be the right time, those kind of things. So how do you make a decision that's aligned with all of that? So first of all, you want to know that every decision that you make should absolutely be honoring who you are today and who you are in the future. Meaning that you never want to make a decision that hurts you tomorrow, right? You don't want to make a decision that feels good in the moment, but then hurts you in the future, and vice versa. Just like you don't want to lack empathy towards your future self, you also shouldn't lack empathy towards your present self, right? This is where I used to be, or how I used to be, is that I used to push myself too hard. So I'm trying for my future self, I am not enjoying the present moment and I'm not feeling good. That's how I used to operate, right? I would sacrifice my present self for my future self, and as a result, my present self at the time would backfire and would retaliate and screw over my future self, and I would go into these infinite cycles of fighting against this monster inside that just wants to keep me down. That's how I used to see it. That's really how it feels. It feels like you're fighting against yourself when you're not in alignment. And the worst part is that even if you are successful at what you do, and even if you reach the things you want to reach, there's still part of you that's fighting you. So you make the money you thought you wanted to make, and then you realize, or you start to think, you don't even realize, you start to think, maybe it was a fluke, maybe it was coincidence, maybe I got lucky, maybe whatever. And then you do it again and you're like, see, it's less likely that it's a fluke, but still, what if it doesn't last? And your thinking just kind of gets you out of it. And it's not because there's part of you that hates you and wants you to keep sabotaging yourself, but because the decision is not in alignment and it's not honoring all of your states of awareness. And this brings me to the core of the topic today, which is, the fact that we think of ourselves as these beings that make decisions from one place, right? Like I am one person with one way of thinking, and that's absolutely not how we work. We have multiple beliefs, we have multiple filters, all of that. Your emotions affect how you think, your emotions affect your beliefs, your like it's all not only super complicated, but on top of that there are different states of awareness that are at play. And at some level, the way I see them, at least especially after my experiences with sacred plants, specifically psilocybin, it became very clear to me that they are separate. And don't worry, I am aware that I can differentiate reality from non-reality, but you get the idea. The delusion that we all agree on, I know how to differentiate that between my own personal delusions, so I don't want you to worry, but they are different states of awareness inside of me, and there are different states of awareness probably inside of other people, but I can't really confirm or deny that because that's not my personal experience. But my personal experience has been that there are different states of awareness that are collectively making decisions. And in this exercise, I'm going to show you how you can see that for yourself, and hopefully it'll help you gain some clarity. So what are these states of awareness and how many of them are they? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know how many states of awareness we have. I'm going to talk to you about the ones I've personally experienced. The first one that we all know about and we sometimes confuse with ourselves is the mind. The mind is a state of awareness by itself. Okay? It's aware of itself in a sense. And we can be aware of it. So the mind is a state of awareness. There is the next state of awareness that think most of us, if not all of us, are aware of is our emotions. Like, we can feel aware of our emotions. We are, for the most part, aware of our bodies, so that's another state of awareness. We are aware of our environment. We are aware, some of us, many of us hopefully, are aware of our desires. I certainly am hyper aware of what my heart wants. We have our intuition. We have different ways, different things that basically contribute to the final decision. What I want you to understand here is not that I'm not suggesting that you have different personalities or personas or anything like that, doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that you think that the decisions are coming from one place. They are coming from different places. Sometimes it's the food you ate before you made the decision, how much sleep you got, and the hormones and all of these things. That we all are aware of these things, right? These affect your brain, which affects your body, then you're tired, and then you're feeling frustrated, and as a result of that, you get a different line of thought, unless you are aware of the state of awareness called emotion, and you're aware of your body, and you get them in alignment, and that's how you make sure that your decision is pure and coming from the heart. Do you understand what I mean? So this is what I want to hopefully walk you through in this video. All right, so how do you check your different states of awareness? In this example I'm going to use with you for this particular exercise, let's say there is a package that you've been eyeing. There's a mastermind for 10K, and you've been looking at it for some time. I usually just, use examples from my own life, but I have more than once in my life thought that the next coaching program or the next training and the next teacher and the next course and the next group coaching and the next one-on-one coaching and the next book and the next plan and the next is finally going to be it. There's always that one thing that's going to unlock something. I don't know what it is, but something is about to get unlocked. And I just kind of had to have this honest conversation with myself at some point, that at some point you have to stop and you just start doing stuff, instead of learning and, being behind the scenes. But anyway, in those particular occasions, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times I made my decision based on the level of excitement that I had for the program. So I let my excitement for it confuse me, and I wasn't checking, my emotions because I wanted this to work, or I wasn't checking, logically it made sense and emotionally it felt good. But at the same time, I still sensed that something was not clicking or not right, and I didn't override. I was like, it's okay, what's the problem here? Logically, it's sound, and it feels right. So surely this must be my fear holding me back. Maybe I definitely should do it. So I want to help you with this exercise, with this example, that let's say, for example, you're someone who's right now eyeing a program or someone that you want to work with, and you're not sure how to make that decision. You can follow this process. So step one is you have to set in time and space to do this. You can't do this while you're driving your car. You shouldn't do this while you're multitasking and doing something else. This is something that is going to require your presence, and it's going to require your attention, your full attention. Because you have to sense into this. This is not a thinking exercise. This is an experiential exercise. Okay, so step one, you set the time and space. You say, I am going to take as much time as I need to work through these things, okay? If you're rushing, if you're trying to figure out the answer within a specific period of time and you're putting a limit on it, you're already not doing this right, okay? So for example, if you're saying, I gotta decide right now to gain clarity right now about this decision because this thing expires tonight and I have to be a fast decision maker and make this decision quickly and move forward. Since I don't want to let my fear hold me back. I gotta do it. Which is what is generally, advised and encouraged in the industry. I can tell you right away that if you're doing it from that place because you're fearing that you're going to miss out if you didn't get it, it's already not a very good energy to start from. Okay, so that's already kind of problematic. So first step, set the time and space and understand that maybe you'll find out that there's some work for you to do around something and it's going to take a little bit more time. All right. Step two is to check, first and foremost, check with yourself if you are loving it, the idea of having it. Like, do you really even want this thing? Do you even want it? Or are you joining because everybody else is doing it and they say it's great and you think you should want it? right? Or because you think logically this is the right thing to do. I probably should sign up for this. But the idea of going through this program or working with this person doesn't sound very exciting. So in the first stage, you're checking for, it's a yes or no. Is it like, do I even want this? Yes or no? Just to be sure, right? A lot of times we convince ourselves that we want something, and then we think about the thing, and then we're like, wait, I don't even want this. Why am I even trying to decide if this is right for me or not? I don't even want it. Okay? So that's step one. Now in step two, you want to check for your emotions. And the reason why I check emotions before anything else is because, emotions are a lot faster to process. Thoughts are way slower than your emotions. And emotions, those are things that you can pick up quite fast. And to be able to clear them before you start diving into your thoughts is really going to help you think more clearly. Because if your emotions are muddled, then when you go into the thinking stage or using logic, your emotions are going to be messing up with your thoughts. And it's true that your thoughts could also mess up with your emotions, but your emotions are a lot more powerful in that way. Like it's better from experience, and you can try it differently. I'm only sharing with you what worked for me and what works for other people. I've seen that it's better to address the emotion and allow the emotion to be heard and seen before we dive into the thinking, the thoughts, the mindset, and all of that, so that we can have a clear idea of what's really going on. So it's as simple as asking yourself, okay, how do I feel right now? That's it. How do I feel about this thing? And see what happens, see what comes up, because you might hear things like, oh, I feel excited, but I'm also feeling nervous. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling afraid. Why are you feeling afraid? Then you might get to the thought. Right then and there, you might get a thought that pops up, and it's like, a thought that has been sitting in the back of your mind, but you've been kind of ignoring it because you're actually excited about this thing and you really want to sign up, but there's this red flag here, but you're not looking at it, or you're trying to convince yourself that it's not a big deal or whatever, right? So work through emotion and then ask yourself, like, how am I feeling? And then once you've asked yourself, how am I feeling, and you've identified the feelings. By the way, if you're struggling with the feeling, I know the feeling part is something I take for granted, but for many years I had a really hard time even connecting to, what feelings, right? And one way that you can connect to your feelings if you're having a hard time understanding what's actually going on is to connect to the body. You can say, how am I feeling? And then tune into how you feel in your body. And then in your body, you might feel that, you are tense. And then you realize, oh, I'm actually kind of anxious about this. I'm nervous. I'm making myself small. Right? So you tap into the emotion first, and then you move into the thought. Then you ask, okay, what do you think about this? What are your beliefs about this? And this is where any objections that you've been ignoring will come up to the surface. And the exercise, the purpose of this exercise is, again, to listen to different sides of yourself so that the final decision is clear. So you don't have any parts of yourself that are kind of arguing against your success, right? So, you've cleared your emotions, you've cleared the thoughts, you've cleared the beliefs, then you can check for your intuition. Then you can ask yourself, what am I sensing right now about this? And some of you might say, well, why are you asking intuition last? Why wouldn't intuition be the first thing? Because isn't that like what pops up, immediately, like the first gut reaction to something? Not necessarily. I mean, yes, the intuition is generally the thing that happens first, and it is oftentimes pretty reliable, but the problem is sometimes most people can't tell the difference between their intuition and something else. And extreme excitement and excitement about something isn't necessarily intuition, okay? Because intuition is usually more like peace rather than, strong emotion. It's more like peace. It's quiet, but it's persistent. It'll never leave you for the rest of your life. It'll always be there. If your intuition is telling you that you're supposed to go in this direction and build this kind of business or be this kind of person or create this in your life, and if it's true, it'll never leave you. It'll keep coming back until the day you die or until you do it. All right, so, why didn't I check with intuition first, like before emotion or before whatever? Because I wanted to identify what biases are there, right? So we want to work through the biases that are usually come up during the thought, belief, emotion stages, the body stages and all of that. So once you've worked through all of that, then you're asking the intuition, and like, what am I sensing about this? Could kind of give you some, hints. You could also ask, what did I sense about this first? What was my first immediate reaction? And it could be, and this happened to me before, where it was like, oh yeah, my gut feeling was this, but then I ignored it, and then I realized that it was in fact that first reaction that I had, right? And there were times when it was quite the opposite. It was like my gut feeling was one thing, but after doing the exercise, I was like, oh, that turns out that was not correct. That was not really it, okay? Gut feeling was not it. Okay, it was not really a gut feeling. It was a personal bias and something else going on within me that I was not aware of. So, I'm a big fan of following your gut feeling as long as it's truly your gut feeling. And that practice of figuring out what is really your gut feeling versus what else is going on, that's something that, although I've worked on a ton and I've made tremendous progress, I still am doing progress. I'm making progress on this. And I invite you to do the same, okay? So it takes time to fine tune. You check all of your states of awareness, all of them, right? And then finally, the final step is you ask your ego if your ego is on board. And ego is one of those states of awareness that get a really bad rep. People think that, it's bad, it's connected, it's actually sometimes even confused with the mind. But anyway, ego is not only needed, it's great. Ego is our ability to get things done. Ego is what enables us to take action in the physical material world. So we absolutely need this sense of separation. We need this. It is a state of awareness that has to be taken into account because it is just as much of a state of awareness as all parts of us. And ego, when it's healthy, it can be, it's a powerful tool, right? It's terrible to say that, actually, now that I think about it. You're a powerful tool. Sorry. But but you know what I mean? Like, it is a very powerful ally, so to speak, or support to have, because the job of a healthy ego is to serve the heart, is whatever you want. When we talk about being heart-centered, entrepreneur, creator, or leader, when we're following our desires, we're following the things that bring us joy and make us feel alive. Sometimes people think that it's a goody, happy, kind of, easy ride, no struggle at all, ever. We're just here to eat ice cream, vegan ice cream, for example, and have a great time. There's like all these stereotypes that you're a hippie and you're this and that, and I don't mind them. They're not necessarily accurate about me, but whatever, But there is this stereotype that you're supposed to be a softie and life should be good at all times, and actually that's not at all the spiritual path. And it's not supposed to be one of struggle. It's supposed to be one of striving and a willingness that's coming from a place of love, because we desire things and we want to achieve things in this lifetime and we want to be joyful, but we understand that sometimes struggle is part of the deal, not struggle for lack of better words. There's inner work to be done and it's not always pleasant, okay? It's not always pleasant, and that's part of it, and that's how it's supposed to be. So, we got to ask the ego what the ego wants and take ego into consideration. And then we got to ask ego if the ego is willing to do what it takes, because this is the stage where, a lot of people forget to check with the ego. Hey, are you willing to really do what it takes to get you there? And do you imagine yourself doing what it takes to maintain it also? Because you might think, well, I want to have XYZ as a result, but without thinking that I'll have it and then there will be no responsibility with it. Like, I'll have all the positives without any of the negatives. And everything in life comes with a gift and a challenge, if you will, or something that's not necessarily pleasant. And we have to, if we're gonna want the stuff that we want, we have to pay the price of something of lesser value in exchange for it. And we have to be willing to do that. But oftentimes we think about what we want, but we don't give too much thought to all the things that we don't want that are necessary, a necessary part of creating what we do want. And, this is where you got to ask the ego. Ego, you said you wanted to make this decision. You want it now. You can't put it off because you really want these results. So you got to make this decision. You got to join this program. You've got to hire this coach. This is the thing that's going to transform your life. That's it. You're so ready. But are you willing to do this and this and this and this and this and this? Or are you just throwing money at it and hoping that throwing money at it is going to fix the problem? Or hoping that having an expert is somehow going to untangle all of the issues in your business or in your mindset or in your, attitude or in your line of thinking or in your emotion or in your spiritual growth. So there is a level of having to sit with our emotions in the present moment, here and now. And really the best thing that happened to me when I started making decisions in alignment is not only being able to make good decisions or making decisions that served me, but also the level of self-love and acceptance it took, where I stopped bullying myself into things that I didn't want, or pushing myself so hard and having no compassion towards myself, or on the other hand, allowing myself to indulge in self-destructive behaviors. It really brought me to a place where all parts of me are feeling completely at peace, where every decision I make, even if it's difficult in the moment, even if it feels difficult, I just have this general sense of peace and ease about it because I know that it's the right thing to do. I feel in complete alignment, and I think that that sense of peace is really the most valuable thing about being able to make decisions in alignment. And it really all boils down to understanding this very interesting, simple but not very simple concept, which is there are different parts of you that have to be honored, including the present you and future you. There's part of you and your awareness that have to be integrated in the conversation, that have to be taken into account. And your job is to listen to every part of you, and while being kind to all of your states of awareness, maintain this understanding that the real voice is the one of your heart, and everything else, including your ego, is its servant. The mind is its servant, the body is its servant, and your job is to manage all of these states of awareness and to take care of all of them and never prioritize one over the other. Let's say your ego over your physical health, or your body over your mind, and vice versa, right? Like you work really hard and you're achiever and everything, but you're not giving yourself enough time to rest, and you're not taking care of your body. So you have to be responsible for all of these different parts of you and integrate all of them in the decision making, but at the end of the day, they're all serving your heart. Thank you for watching. This was Aliana, founder of Brands Are Alive, where we help conscious creators like you build brands of full self-expression and a business that makes you feel alive. And if you found this video helpful, you can subscribe to our Saturday Mojo if you're not already part of the Saturday Mojo, our newsletters, brandsarealive.com/newsletters. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.